Get out, paying mortgage doesn't make you blood, my father said coldly on Thanksgiving. While Mom whispered, you're only jealous of your brother's success. I stared. Then let him pay the $8,500 utilities, groceries, and credit cards. I replied and shut down everything overnight. The police knocked. Mom was crying, sister was begging, and then I did it. At last. Next day, I got 123 missed calls from almost every relative. Thanksgiving dinner was supposed to be peaceful. Supposed to be. Instead, my father leaned back in his chair, staring at me like I was nothing more than some distant stranger who'd accidentally wandered into his home. Get out, paying the mortgage doesn't make you blood, he said, voice cold as ice. I stared at him in disbelief, the turkey still untouched on my plate. My hands clenched under the table. My chest burned, but not from the wine, from the words. My mother didn't even meet my eyes. She just whispered, you're only jealous of your brother's success. My brother. Always him. I looked across the table at Eric, sitting there in his custom-tailored suit, sipping his wine like a king. The golden child. The entrepreneur. The one who, according to them, could do no wrong. But it was me who'd been paying their bills for years. Me who bailed them out when the mortgage was overdue. Me who covered the $8,500 in utilities, groceries, and credit cards just last month while Eric flaunted his success on social media. I kept my voice steady. Then let him pay the $8,500 utilities, groceries, and credit cards. Silence. Dead silence. Eric glanced down at his plate, suddenly finding his mashed potatoes very interesting. My father's lip curled. My mother finally looked up, her eyes glossy, as if I was the villain. I stood up slowly, pushing my chair back with a deliberate scrape across the hardwood floor. You've made your choice, I said. So have I. Without another word, I walked out, leaving the three of them frozen in their perfect little world. But that was only the beginning. The cold November air slapped my face as I stepped outside, but it didn't sting nearly as much as my family's words. Not that it was anything new. For years, I had carried them, like some invisible mule hauling their endless debt uphill. It started small, helping cover Dad's medical bills after his surgery. Then the mortgage payments fell behind. Then Mom's car needed repairs. Then Eric's startup just needed a little liquidity to survive its first year. I paid. Every single time. Eric, of course, was always just about to make it big. Every holiday he'd sit at the table, boast about investors, new clients, expansion plans. My parents ate it up like gospel. Your brother is building something amazing, Mom would say, pouring more wine into her glass. You should learn from him, Dad would add. Not everyone's cut out to be an entrepreneur. Never mind that Eric's business was hemorrhaging money and that his success was built entirely on credit cards and my financial lifeline. They didn't want to see it, but they always saw me. The responsible one. The ATM. The one who owed them for everything. You live alone. You don't have kids. What do you need money for? Mom had said just last month, after I paid off their overdue property taxes. You're lucky you can help. Lucky. I was lucky to work 70-hour weeks in IT while Eric blew money on private business coaches and luxury vacations with his third girlfriend in 2 years. I was lucky to skip vacations, lucky to drive a 10-year-old car, lucky to sacrifice my own down payment fund so they wouldn't lose their house. And when I tried to pull back, the manipulation always followed. You know we raised you, right? We've given you so much. Eric just needs a little more time. Be patient. But what made tonight different wasn't the insults. It was the open rejection. They had finally said out loud what they'd been implying for years. I was not truly part of this family. My blood wasn't enough. My sacrifices weren't enough. I was useful when my bank account was open, disposable when it wasn't. The calls started that same night. First it was Mom. Sweetheart, don't overreact. Your father didn't mean it that way. I didn't answer. Then Eric called twice. Left no voicemails. Coward. By morning, there were 8 missed calls. By noon, 14. Then the text began. Eric, look, we all said stuff we didn't mean. Just come back. We need to talk. Mom, can you help cover the electricity bill? It's due today. Dad, be a man. Don't let one dinner ruin everything. That last one made me laugh. Ruin everything? They had done that themselves. By evening, Eric sent the most shameless message yet. Hey bro, got an unexpected credit card charge this month. Can you cover it? It's just temporary. Just temporary. Like the mortgage, the groceries, the property taxes, the private school tuition for Eric's kids that I never agreed to but somehow ended up paying. But then came the final straw. The audacity of what they tried next. 2 days after Thanksgiving, I checked my online banking and froze. There was a new credit card opened under my name. Multiple charges. Thousands of dollars. Luxury hotel stays. Expensive dinners. Electronics. I knew exactly who it was. Eric. I felt my hands tremble, not from panic, from rage. He hadn't even tried to hide it. He used my social security number, my information, my credit. That night, I sat in my dark apartment, staring at my phone screen while my mind raced. They hadn't just used me. They betrayed me, stole from me, lied to me. My breathing slowed. My jaw clenched. If they wanted a fight, they found one. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't even try. Instead, I made phone calls. To my bank. To my lawyer. To the credit bureau. I froze my credit, disputed the charges, and filed a fraud report. The evidence? Crystal clear. The perpetrator? My own brother. By morning, my phone lit up again, as if they could sense the storm I was about to unleash. Eric, call me. It's not what you think. Mom, please don't do anything rash. Dad, you're blowing this out of proportion. No, for once, I wasn't. The final confrontation came faster than I expected. 3 days later, they all showed up, uninvited, banging on my apartment door like the world was ending. Open the door, son, my father shouted. Please, honey, we just need to talk, my mother pleaded, her voice already cracking. Eric pounded harder. You don't understand what you're doing. Oh, but I did. I opened the door slowly, standing in the frame like a judge waiting to sentence them. You have 10 minutes, I said coldly. They flooded inside. Mom crying. Dad looking furious, but trying to play mediator. Eric, pale, sweating, eyes darting everywhere like a trapped animal. Listen, Eric started, voice shaky. There's been a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding? I repeated, laughing bitterly. You stole my identity and racked up $27,000 worth of charges. That's not a misunderstanding, Eric. That's a felony. My father stepped forward, his tone sharp. We are family. You don't call the police on family. Oh, so now we're family. I snapped. That's rich, considering last week you told me to get out. That paying the mortgage doesn't make me blood. My mother sobbed. We didn't mean it. We were upset. You meant every word. I said. You meant it when you called me jealous. You meant it when you watched me pay your bills for years and never once said thank you. You meant it when you let Eric steal from me and thought I'd just keep taking it. Eric's fake calm finally cracked. I was going to pay it back. I just needed time. Business is tight right now. I laughed in his face. Business? Eric, your business has been tight for 5 years. You live in a $4,000 a month apartment you can't afford, drive a leased BMW, and wear $800 shoes. All while crying broke to me. My father slammed his hand on the table. Enough. You're tearing this family apart. No, you did that, I said through gritted teeth. You enabled his behavior for years and enabled him while draining me dry. Eric's face twisted into something uglier than I'd ever seen. You've always been jealous of me. Admit it. That's why you're doing this. You can't stand that I'm successful. Successful? I nearly screamed. You mean pretending to be successful? Using my money to fund your little fantasy life while I skipped vacations, drove a used car, and worked myself into the ground. My voice shook with fury. You're not successful, Eric. You're a fraud. And starting tomorrow, you'll finally have to live like one. His eyes widened. What are you talking about? I'm pressing charges, I said coldly. I filed the police report. Identity theft, bank fraud, wire fraud, the whole package. My mother let out a wail, collapsing into a chair. You can't do this. What will happen to your brother? To us? That's not my problem anymore, I said, my voice like ice. You made your choices. Eric lunged forward suddenly, but my father grabbed him back. You want to ruin your own flesh and blood? Dad barked. You ruined yourselves the moment you decided I was only valuable if I paid for your lives, I answered. I'm not your bank anymore. And I am not your punching bag. The room was shaking with their screams, their sobs, their desperate bargaining. But I had already decided. This time, I was walking out and not looking back. I opened the door. Get out. All of you. Next time we speak will be in court. The police came the next morning. Detective Reynolds, polite but cold, took my full statement. I handed over every document. The credit card statements, screenshots of transactions, emails, even copies of my brother's messages begging me to help him out just one last time. The case was airtight. Given the amount involved, Reynolds said, flipping through the evidence, this won't stay just between family. Bank fraud and identity theft aren't matters we brush under the rug. I nodded. I want to press full charges. And that was that. By the end of the week, Eric was officially under investigation. I saw it all play out from a distance, like watching a train wreck you once tried to prevent, but now couldn't stop even if you wanted to. The fallout was immediate and brutal. The family group chat exploded. Mom, you didn't have to involve the police. This could have stayed between us. Dad, you're destroying your own brother's future. For what? A few dollars. Eric, you're a disgusting traitor. You've always hated me. Congrats, you finally got your revenge. Mom, think about how this will look to the neighbors, to the church, to everyone. Every message dripped with guilt, manipulation, desperation. For years, that kind of emotional blackmail worked on me. Not anymore. I didn't reply to a single one. But they weren't done. 2 days later, my parents showed up at my apartment. This time, my father didn't bother knocking. He pounded on the door until my neighbor poked his head out and told him to calm down. My mother sobbed behind him like some deranged Greek tragedy. Open up, my father yelled. You can't hide behind that door forever. I opened the door, but only a few inches. There's nothing to talk about, I said calmly. You're making a mistake, he growled. You've always been so ungrateful. After all we've done for you. All you've done for me? I laughed bitterly. I paid your mortgage for 5 years. I paid your property taxes, your groceries, your bills, your Golden Sons debts. You didn't do anything for me. You used me. My mother chimed in, voice cracking. He's your brother. You're sending him to jail. No, he sent himself to jail the moment he stole my identity, I snapped. And if you cared about him, you would have made him take responsibility long ago. But you didn't. You enabled him, like always. My father's face turned red. If you go through with this, he hissed, you are dead to us. I've been dead to you for years, I said, and shut the door in their faces. Weeks passed. The investigation moved fast. Turns out Eric had done this not just to me, but to 3 other people, shady investors who had finally come forward once the police started digging. Grand jury indictment. Multiple felony counts. Federal charges. He was facing serious prison time. The trial hadn't even begun, but the entire family network was already collapsing under the weight of their own lies. The most shocking part? The relatives started turning. First was my aunt, Dad's sister, who called me privately. You did the right thing, she said quietly. We've all known for years how your parents covered for Eric. They never appreciated you. Then my cousin reached out, then another uncle. Each one admitted they'd seen this coming but had been too afraid to speak up. He always was the golden boy, my uncle admitted, but nobody ever said no to him. Not your parents, not even your grandmother. It was bizarre. For years, they had watched me drown, and only now, when Eric was finally exposed, did they dare whisper the truth. But the biggest shock came from Kelly, Eric's ex-wife. She reached out a few weeks after the indictment. I almost didn't answer the call, but curiosity got the better of me. Thank you, she said immediately. For what? I asked. For finally standing up to him. I wish I'd done it years ago. Turns out, she'd left Eric not just because of infidelity, but because of financial abuse. He had drained her savings, forged her signature on business loans, and left her with piles of debt she only barely escaped. He destroyed everyone around him, she said, her voice shaking. And your parents kept protecting him like nothing was wrong. Her words confirmed what I had long suspected but never fully grasped. Eric wasn't just a spoiled golden child. He was a predator who had used everyone he could. Family, friends, even strangers. But my parents? They stayed loyal to him, right to the bitter end. The last time we spoke was the day before Eric's arraignment. My father called one final time. If you testify, you'll be responsible for ruining this family, he said flatly. No, I answered. Eric ruined this family. I'm just cleaning up his mess. Silence. And then he said the words that had hung over me my entire life. You were always the jealous one. I smiled. For the first time, those words didn't hurt. And you were always blind. Then I hung up permanently. When Eric stood in court, shackled, wearing a prison jumpsuit, I didn't feel joy. I didn't feel pity either. I felt free. Free from the years of manipulation. Free from the guilt they had used to control me. Free from being their personal ATM. The sentence was harsh, but deserved. 7 years federal prison, plus restitution. Eric didn't look at me once as the judge read his fate. My parents sat in the back row, stone-faced, as if mourning a martyr. But I saw the truth in their eyes, rage mixed with shame. That evening, I returned to my apartment. Alone, but lighter than I'd ever felt. As I poured myself a drink, my phone buzzed. It was a simple text from my aunt. "You did what none of us had the courage to do. I'm proud of you." I stared at the message for a long time, and for the first time in years, I allowed myself to believe it. 6 months. That's how long it's been since I testified against my own brother. 6 months since my parents disowned me for not protecting the family's name. 6 months since I stopped being their financial hostage. And for the first time in my adult life, I finally knew peace. No more late-night calls demanding money. No more guilt trips wrapped in fake concern. No more watching my hard-earned savings vanish into someone else's mistakes. I woke up every morning in my small but fully paid-off apartment. No debts. No obligations. No weight on my chest. I had reclaimed my life, and God, it felt better than I ever imagined. The world around me kept spinning, of course. Eric sat behind federal bars, his business empire nothing but a pile of lawsuits and unpaid debts. The media picked up the story briefly. Young entrepreneur charged with multi-level fraud. But in this world, even scandals fade fast. My parents? They dug themselves into deeper denial, cutting off anyone who didn't praise their fallen son. I heard from distant relatives that my mother still hosted dinners where Eric's name was spoken like a misunderstood victim. My father filled his days raging about betrayal to anyone who would listen, but I wasn't part of their narrative anymore. And then, one morning, came the message I never expected. An email. From Kelly, Eric's ex-wife. "I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I just wanted to say something. Thank you, not just for standing up to Eric, but for surviving them. I know how they operate, and I know how hard it is to break free from people like that." I stared at the screen for a long moment, my chest tightening unexpectedly. She wasn't wrong. Surviving them was exactly what this had been. A lifetime of invisible chains finally snapped. Weeks later came another unexpected turn. I got a knock on my door. When I opened it, I froze. It was my aunt, my father's sister. She hadn't spoken to me since the trial. "I hope this isn't a bad time," she said softly. "No. Come in," I replied, cautiously. We sat. She was nervous, fidgeting with her wedding ring. "I just wanted you to know," she began, "your grandmother passed away last week." My heart sank. Grandma had been the only one in the family who ever treated me like a person, not like an asset. "She left something for you," my aunt continued, pulling out an envelope. Inside was a handwritten letter. "You were always the only one who saw the truth. Don't feel guilty for choosing yourself. That's what I always hoped you'd do one day." Beneath the letter was a copy of the will. She had left me everything. The house. The savings. The inheritance my parents fully expected to receive. "She wanted you to have a fresh start," my aunt whispered. "She saw what they did to you." I sat there, stunned. For a moment, guilt tried to crawl back in, that old familiar parasite. But then something shifted. Not guilt. Closure. They took everything from me for years, my peace, my money, my dignity. Now life was giving something back. Today, as I stand in front of Grandma's old house, preparing to renovate it into my own home, I feel something I haven't felt in years. Power. Not the kind that controls others. The kind that allows you to finally live without fear, without guilt, without someone breathing down your neck for more. I glance at my phone. Dozens of missed calls from my parents, still desperately trying to claw their way back now that they know about the inheritance. I don't answer. They lost that right a long time ago. I'm free. And this time, I'm not coming back.